Thanks for checking out the Open Sky Fitness Podcast with Rob Dionne. Rob is a personal trainer certified by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He's a corrective exercise specialist and a performance enhancement specialist. Rob is also a level 1 CrossFit instructor, but he is not a doctor. If you got any injuries or medical issues, go see a physician. And when it comes to working out, it's always best to have a trainer watch your technique to get you started. So be careful, don't sue us, and enjoy the podcast. All right, let's do this thing.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Open Sky Fitness Podcast. I'm Rob Dionne, and I'm here to tell you that no matter where you are in your life, you can always be healthier. And we're here to help you get there. Okay guys, so if you have questions about your own health and fitness, or if you have questions that you want us to ask our guests for you, write us on Twitter and Instagram at Open Sky Fitness with the hashtag AskOpenSky. You can also email me, Rob at OpenSkyFitness.com, or go to OpenSkyFitness.com and you can leave a voice memo right there on the tab on the right side.
All right, guys, what's up?
What's up? Happy December.
I know, Jesus, can we believe that it's December already? This is bananas.
I know, 2016 is wrapping up.
You know, that's actually a good segue into what we're going to talk about today because, you know, New Year's is coming. Everyone talks about setting goals for the new year, all of your New Year's resolutions and everything. And we want to talk about New Year's intentions.
Right, not goals.
Not goals, not to be confused with goals, but New Year's intentions. Right?
Yeah. I always do that. I was saying to Rob when we were talking about this podcast earlier, how sometimes I take two words that are similar and I make them in my head the same thing. For me, it was like wants and needs. Right? When you want something, when you need something, to me, it was the same thing because every time I needed something, I thought I was being greedy.
Right.
Right? So I had to really go, oh, no, sometimes I really do need, and it's okay to need.
Right. Like sometimes you need a new pair of sneakers.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I'm terrible with that.
What?
I never want it. Like I always feel like if I'm like it's probably time to get a new pair of sneakers.
Right.
I do not buy them because I feel like it's something that I want, and buying new sneakers feels like a gift to me, to myself. But it's like a uniform for me. Like I need to have updated, sneakers, or not even uniform. It's my equipment.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Support your feet and your body the way, with your job. But it's the same thing with. Kind of going, the whole reason that came up was because of intentions and goals, right? We kind of think of that like, oh, my intention for this year and my goal for this year it's the same thing, but it's really not. They're really different.
They're really different. And we're going to get into why they're different. I think it's really interesting and how they have to coexist together.
Yeah.
In order to really be successful, you can't just have goals.
Right.
Right. And you can't just have intentions.
Right.
Okay. So, but before we get into that, big announcement for Devon and I.
Big announcement.
This past Thursday, we signed the lease for the last apartment that we had been renovating. So now we've officially
the end of June, guys.
Jesus. Since
July,
since July 9th, we started the renovations, and then literally they haven't moved in yet, but these we have a couple that's moving into the final 2-bedroom apartment, and we're super excited about it. It seems like it's like such a weight lifted off of us because it's been so much work to get to here. It's been like 5 months.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
But
now, why I bring this up, another reasons why I bring this up, because it's allowing us to start refocusing our attention on the Open Sky Fitness podcast, on Open Sky Fitness in general. And we're putting together some really awesome stuff that I'm super excited to get started on and let you guys know about. But I don't want to give anything away yet. I can't give anything away yet. You're just going to have to stay tuned in the coming weeks and the coming months to find out what those things are. But there's some pretty awesome things coming at you.
Yeah, it really is, guys. It's going to be a really awesome group.
Super, super excited. So this week, we are officially moving away from the nutrition series, as we said, because, I think we've talked about nutrition for long enough.
Yes. There are other things about health and wellness besides food.
That's right. Even though that is, and there's a good reason why we had to talk about it for 8 weeks straight or 9 weeks straight, right? And that's because it is probably the most important thing when it comes to...
And the most confusing thing.
Right, exactly, that people get really hung up on.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time. It's almost baffling to us sometimes when we talk to people that don't have any real knowledge base when it comes to nutrition and where they think, what they think. It just kind of blows my mind sometimes. Yeah. But this week we are going to discuss a topic. This goals, intentions thing came out of a topic that was brought up by somebody in the Open Sky Fitness podcast group, and but we want to extend this out to you. So two things. One is we have this awesome Open Sky Fitness podcast group on Facebook. If you'd like to join that group, please do. All you got to do, it's a closed group, but you just got to request to join the group, and I'll let you in. And then there's tons of really great people in there having some amazing conversations. So to everybody that is in that group, what I want to ask you is, in the closing of 2016, right now today we're going to talk about intentions. We're extending invitations for some great podcast guests to come on. But are there any people that you want to hear from? Is there any specific topic that you want us to discuss? So I invite you to go into the Open Sky Fitness podcast group on Facebook and just leave your comments in there and tell us some of the things that you're interested in hearing about in the closing of 2016. Now, before we get into this, one more thing. I want to give a shout out. We had a great run at some new members coming in this week. Shout out to Tom, Walt, Andy, Colin, Trisha, Tina, Kelly, Madeline, Diane, Gina, and Jason. This week's so there was some really cool people, and so Cato was also a person that joined this week, and he posted he posted something. He posted a comment and some picture of his before and after, and I was really inspired. Yeah. By his honesty, by his vulnerability, and just the way that he kind of unfolded what was really going on with him and his struggle. And
so open.
And he really, really struggled with, dropping weight, and he dropped from 220 down to 140, and he's been maintaining that for over 2.5 years now. So it made me start thinking, why do some people with goals seem to enjoy themselves throughout the process and therefore have the longevity that everyone strives for, while others struggle with goals and just end up falling short because they feel it's just too difficult? Right. And so obviously Cato, over the last 2.5 years, has figured something out. Yes. He's created something for himself. And we would argue that, maybe it's not conscious. This is not a conscious decision for him. Maybe it's subconscious, that how he's figured this out. But he wasn't just settling for weight loss. He put together an intention for himself. Yes. He had an intention that he was living into.
Yeah, and he talked about it a little bit without saying, this is my intention and this is what I was going for. But throughout his conversation, you could see what his intention was. Right. Which was really choosing to be healthy, to create more energy,
So let's get into this. So let's so like we said earlier, in order to really succeed at your goals, you also have to have an intention behind it. Yes. And in order to, execute on your, in order to, I guess, well, you can't really apply your intentions unless you have goals, right? So it's like this, they have to work together. So,
I mean, I guess you don't have to have a goal to apply intentions, to be honest.
I mean, I guess that's true. Well, let's talk about what it is. Let's talk about the difference between goals and intentions. So why don't you go into that?
Okay. So when you think about a goal is something that you are doing, right?
Or trying to achieve.
Trying to achieve, right? But it's a doing. It's something you're trying to achieve in the future. Right. And so you're going to do something to achieve that goal. An intention is a way of being in the present moment.
Gotcha.
So your intention is how you're going to do something.
Got it.
Right?
Or the mind frame around how you're going to do it.
The mindset of it. Exactly. Okay. Right. So for instance, a goal will move you forward, right? Without goals, you don't go anywhere. You kind of stay stagnant. But the happiness that you feel often relies on whether or not you accomplish that goal. So if If you accomplish it, maybe you'll feel happy. If you don't accomplish it, you're going to feel like you're a failure. You have a huge problem with this, feeling like a failure.
Yes, I do.
No,
but you know
but
what?
it's
This
true.
is totally, it's totally true. I'm terrible. I have very, what is it called? Unrealistic expectations of myself.
And then when you don't achieve your goal, you get really depressed.
I have no passion, no compassion, no empathy for myself.
Right. So, I mean, all of us feel that way though, right? If you're just working on goals.
But this is what we all do, you know, and I have a little more structure around it for some reason around health. Like when I'm setting goals for myself in like the health, I can somehow navigate that a little better. I mean, maybe I can be hard on myself.
Yeah,
but I think that for a lot of people, you know, I just had a client recently that was talking about losing weight, and he didn't lose as much weight as he wanted to lose, right? And that is, and there was so much frustration that came from that. But you know, and even with the constant reminder that, look, over these last 3 months, you have learned so much about yourself. You can say that you have more energy. You can say that you're doing better work. You know, your work is actually improving. I mean, just your business is improving. All these things are happening in your life. You have, you're going, I mean, your digestion is better, all of this stuff, right?
Right.
But to get hooked on that one metric,
right,
can sabotage you, but it's a matter of focusing on the result and not allowing yourself to be present with the process.
Right. We talk about this, and this is exactly what, like, the process is your intention. Right?
Okay,
The intention of
yes.
how you're going to be. And the result that we talk about is your goal.
Is the completed goal.
The completed goal. Right.
Exactly.
So going back to that, like, as goals move you forward, intentions allow you for how you want to be in that moment, how you want to feel, independent of whether or not you accomplish the goal.
And there was a good example that I read recently about this and how to like, and in my mind frame, this helped me make sense of it. It was, imagine you're going on a hike and you're trying to hike to the top of a mountain, right? And it's a goal that you can set for yourself. You want to achieve that goal, right? Very simple goal, right? But your intention while on that hike, your intention for that goal is to be present with nature and really experience all the moments, taking your time to not necessarily just get to the top, but taking your time to experience it. It's almost like the road to Hana.
Right.
In Maui, right?
Yes.
If you're familiar with the road to Hana, it's this amazing hour and a half drive or actually it could take you 6 hours.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. If you're driving straight, it's an hour and a half. If you're doing it the way that you're supposed to do it, which is experiencing it for every little nook and cranny of adventure,
Of the road, yeah.
of the road.
Then it might take you 6 hours, which is what it took for us.
Yeah, something like that. Right,
yeah,
exactly.
It was an hour and a half drive, but you can stop on the way and you can hike in a little bit and experience this amazing waterfall. We had this huge pool and waterfall.
Right.
It was just the two of us. It was amazing.
Right. Or you can stop along the ocean and you can see these beautiful, what are they called? Like the Seven Sacred Pools was somewhere.
That was at the end.
But it doesn't matter. That's still part of the journey.
Yeah, we had a place where we like jumped with all the locals in these cliffs, from these cliffs into these pools of water. That was just gorgeous and fun.
Right. So it's like the goal is Hana.
Right.
The intention is the road to Hana.
Right, exactly.
Right? So you're experiencing it. You're allowing yourself to experience it. When you set a goal for yourself, have the intention to be present every step of the way.
Right.
So this way you are experiencing it fully.
Right.
Right? Okay, keep going.
And by doing that, by living for the intention, you're living for the value and what matters most to you in life. Right? Like getting to Hana, whether or not you get to Hana is not going to matter in life. Right?
Right, exactly. So had we gone on that trip, right? Let's say we did. We
actually did this.
No, I know. But let's say we did do this. But let's say we didn't reach the end, right? Let's say we did. We went on the road to Hana and we stopped at some waterfalls and we stopped and did some sightseeing. We went swimming in the ocean and we did all of these things, but we never reached Hana because we ran out of daylight.
Right.
let's say, and then we had to head back.
Well, I want to say this is the funny thing, because we had this goal to go see this waterfall at the end of Hana. When we actually got there to the 7 sacred pools and to the waterfall, we ended up like racing the sun all the way to the waterfall, and we got to our goal, and then the sun went down, and we almost spent the night in the rainforest.
That's right.
Because we had to achieve that goal.
That's right.
Yeah, and we almost literally got hypothermia and died in the rainforest.
I mean, besides sprinting past, do you really remember anything in the bamboo forest?
No.
Hardly.
I don't. I remember my contacts being really dry and you going, step up, step down, step up, because I could not see where I was going.
I was telling her to step up, step down, because there's this it's like a wooden path that they built. It's almost like a deck inside the bamboo forest, because it's like all mud under there, because it's like a rainforest. So they had to build this wooden deck that you're basically hiking up. So this is actually a really good example of shutting down from the experience. The intention is to experience this.
The beauty of Hawaii, yeah.
And then, but what we did was we sprinted towards the goal, therefore missing everything around us and potentially almost
dying,
really killing ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, literally, there was a point where we passed this gate that we remembered, we thought was close to the beginning, and it was so dark and it was raining, so there was no moonlight or stars. And I said, Rob, where are you? And he literally put his hand out and touched me, and he said, I'm right here. And I looked, and I could not see him.
Yeah, it was really scary.
I could not ski him.
So we'll tell we have to tell a little bit of the story now.
Yeah.
So we ran all the way up to the top of the bamboo forest, and on the way up we passed this couple who were probably in their 40s and 50s. They were overweight. The woman looked like she was really struggling.
She had actually fallen. She had like scrapes all the way down her side of her leg.
Yeah, because it's a tough hike.
Yeah.
So and it's a long hike, and the guy that she was with was smoking a cigarette, and we run past, and I said to Deb, "Oh my God, these two are never going to make it back down." Mm-hmm. And so we got all the way to the top of the mountain, and we saw the waterfall. We hung out for about all of 3 seconds to take the pictures, which our camera died when we got there. And then we started running back. And as we're running back, those two are just about to get to the top of the mountain. And so we're running down, and I said to Devin, I go, we're going to have to send some people back up for them.
Yeah.
These people
there's
not
no way they're
going to
make it down the mountain.
So we're hauling ass, sprinting like crazy, running. And so eventually we get to where Devin was saying we got to the point where it was cloudy, it was overcast, it was drizzling. We were just in our shorts.
I was in a bikini.
Devin's wearing a bikini. We
sneakers.
Just went swimming. And we had my backpack, which had 2 wet towels in there. Mm-hmm. And we were, and that's all we had.
Yeah.
We didn't have our phones. We left them in the car. We had nothing with us. And so we started running down, and we got to that point where you mentioned, where we got through this gate, and we opened the gate, we closed the gate, and it was pitch black. We were standing underneath. I can see that we were standing underneath a tree, but because there was a huge tree there, you couldn't see where the path went. Mm-hmm. So it was just dirt. And normally you could just find the dirt path, but this was just one big open space of dirt.
Right. And so all we had was one photograph left on our disposable camera. So I took one picture. There was one flash, and that's all you could see.
Right. So we almost we were going to try to make it down. So anyway, we spent some time there trying to figure out how to get off that.
But at one point, we disagree of like who did what. But at one point, I was like, I think the path starts here, and so Rob picked out a huge rock, and he's like, let me see, and he just picks this rock up and throws it, and all you hear is this shoo.
Yeah, like if the rock just went off the side of a mountain.
Because we're right on cliffs.
Yeah, because you're hiking up along cliffs. So we just had to, so it was like, it's not that way.
Yeah.
So then after that, anyway, we start screaming for help. I said to Dev, don't worry, when we get to, there's gotta be, there was a forest ranger there in the parking lot when we pulled in. We had to pay to park there. There's going to be somebody that's going to come back up. They have to come and get the people that, didn't come back.
So we were calm for about 5 minutes.
And then we started screaming for help.
Yeah, then Rob started screaming, help! Help!
All right, don't blow out the mic. All right, Deb. So anyway, I didn't scream like that.
Yes, you
I just need everybody to know that I didn't scream like a little girl. So anyway, after about what seemed like forever, but probably more like 10 or 15 minutes, we start hearing someone scream back for us. And what it turns out is that those 2 people that were up there struggling ended up, because the guy was a smoker, had a flashlight on his lighter. and the two out of shape people, smokers, saved our lives. And we, from that moment, walked out, the four of us. I had to help carry the woman with the other guy because she was in bad shape. It took us from that moment to get out to the parking lot half an hour. Mm-hmm. That's how far away we were from the parking lot still. And when we got there, just our two cars were there and nobody else was there. Yeah. No park rangers, nobody.
Ranger left us.
We would have been there all night.
Had
not it been for the smoker and that woman. So anyway, I guess that was a long story, but
it's a point to say, like, without intention, right? Because we lost our intention on the way. We went to the doing. We got to go to see this waterfall, achieve that goal, and we lost that intention. And it's a great point to show that sometimes
it bit us on the ass.
That sometimes goals can be damaging,
right,
or dangerous to yourself if you don't have the intention behind it.
And I would argue that we had like no joy in that moment. All we were
fear.
frantic,
panic, fear.
Right.
That's how we felt.
That's right. On the way up and on the way down.
Even on the drive home from that, it was like we were still panicked. We were panicked. We were so panicked that we were supposed to hike Mount Haleakala the next morning, and the rest of the trip we just stayed at the hotel and by the pool.
Well, we only had 2 more days left.
But we literally didn't leave the hotel after that.
That's right. We were like, let's just relax. We have a problem.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example, which we didn't even prepare for that as being an example. But I think it was a really good example of how you can have goals without intention, and that could be a complete disaster.
Yeah.
Because intentions are more important than goals.
Yeah, they really are. Because goals are the external result, and intentions are your internal connection to yourself,
right,
or to other people around you. But it's an internal feeling,
right? Because without intention, goals can be dangerous, and sometimes damaging to yourself and to those around you, like you said.
Right.
So, and that's why so many people, like successful people, people succeed, and we all know these people that have a lot of money. They're really successful, and they're fucking assholes.
And they're miserable
with everything that they have. Miserable, they can't be happy with it. And look, we see people that are physically in shape. They have the best bodies ever. They're super healthy. They run these races. They lift these, they lift amazing weights. Their body looks amazing, and you hang out with them and they're miserable.
Yeah. And it's a disconnect between achieving goals and having intentions behind them.
Right. Because
healthy intentions.
I mean, I think we could pretty much all agree that the point of being here is to experience happiness on a consistent basis, right? The point of being on earth is I would hope, is to kind of spread the joy and be good to others and be good to yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to experience happiness, sadness, you're going to experience everything kind of, but it's to make you feel alive, right? You want to feel alive. And often we get into this like mode of goal after goal after goal after goal, where you just start to live in this place of depression, and where you can't get out of it, right? And it's like your whole life is based on whether or not you achieve that goal, and maybe you do achieve it, and maybe you're happy for a second, and then you start a new goal, and then you're back to hating your life until you get to the end of that goal. Right. And it's this cycle.
And there's also, and we've experienced this. There's this feeling of depression or loss after completing a goal.
Yes.
Because it's almost like everything in your life was all about that goal.
Yes.
And once you complete, it's like, I need a new goal. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I have no purpose.
Right.
So your purpose should be your intention, right? Your process, that's your intention. So it's all about creating and allowing that process. Yes, you can have multiple goals, one after the other, and I think that's healthy, but it's your intention around all of that.
Right, because again, back to that, it's like if you have great intentions, whether or not you achieve your goal or don't achieve your goal, it's okay, because you understand the true why of your goal, right? You're really connected to why you're working towards that goal in the meantime. And your goals may change, but you're okay with that because you're being a certain way within that. And the goals change because of who you are being.
Right.
So
yeah, there's all kinds of, actually there's different types of intentions, which we got to talk about, because there's immediate intentions, right? Those are like the day-to-day intentions. And then there's short-term intentions. Now those can be, even though they're short-term, they could be like a year-long intention, right? And you're going to talk about some of your short-term intentions.
I want to talk about how to create really good intentions.
And then there's lifelong intention, which are a little more broad in a sense, right? So there's the immediate, the short-term, and the long-term. right? Or the lifelong, sorry, not the long term, but the lifelong intentions. So like an immediate attention, did I say that right?
Immediate intention. Yeah.
That's right. Wow, that was so
attention,
weird.
intention, but
Yeah.
intention.
Immediate intention would be like waking up in the morning and like saying I'm going to be present for today. Like I really want to focus on being present today. And I want to focus on being grateful today, right? And there's some great books. What was that one? What was that book that they used to fill out? The one that's
The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way,
Yeah,
right?
that
Where
was a great
every
book.
morning, and there's some great ones. Actually, Craig Ballantyne, who I interviewed on the show. He has this whole entire book and lifestyle book that he gave me, and one of the things in there is every single day writing out basically what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And that's a really good intention, because what it does is it sets you up, right, to be grateful, and it sets you up for a reflection.
It's like a way of filtering your mind for the day.
Right, exactly. Refocusing it, like retargeting it towards focusing on things that are good rather than the negative. Right. And I have and there's a good example of this. One of my clients had a really big realization this past week. And this was somebody that I work with online, right? And so we had a conversation this week, and he was falling off. He fell off over Thanksgiving. And I was like, okay, so what changed? Like, what are some of the things that happened, and what changed? And he's like, well, every morning before that, he would spend time reading, journaling, and praying. Right. And it's like, and everybody has their thing, right? It's like it could be in the form of meditation or whatever you want it to be. But he reads, he prays, and he journals in the morning for an hour. And whenever he starts his day off like that, he's set up for success. The rest of his day feels much easier, because it's his intentions to start the day are leading him on the path of being
Living into who he wants to be.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that would be an immediate, an immediate intention, right? A short-term intention would be something like you're working on.
Right.
You want to talk about that? Tell us what are you working on? What's some of the things that you're working on for yourself this year?
This year, yeah. So for me, like I'm just thinking of short term, I was going into goals for the year, right? Again. Right. And that's how this whole thing came about, because I was like, no, I need an intention. Somebody, my acting teacher actually was talking about doing this workshop that I didn't really want to do, but I really liked the idea of it, which was what is your intention for the year? And for instance, hers last year was, my intention is that I get everything I want. Right. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I really was thinking about that, like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like, what would my intention be? And so what I kind of found was I was feeling really unempowered in my life, because I was giving a lot of my time away to other people. And if somebody asked me to do something, I would put what they wanted me to do first before what I needed to do, but what you and I would want to do. Like I would focus on everybody else but myself. And that's common coming from an alcoholic family, of which I came from. Where you end up taking care of everybody else before you. So I really wanted my intention this year to be about having integrity with caring for myself and my family first. And so every decision that I want to make starting now, like I'm not even going to wait till 2017, but starting now, I'm going to filter through. When a choice comes up, I'm going to filter that choice through that intention. Right. So if I do this, am I going to be taking care of myself and Rob or my loved ones? Is this something that I really need? Is something I really want to do? And if it's not, then I politely and kindly say, no, thank you, I can't. Right. And if it's something I can do easily that I want to do that will also be in alignment with my new intention, then I'll absolutely say yes and help out.
Right.
And it's not, I had to get over for a little while that it's not being greedy to do that.
Or selfish,
right? It's really looking at what I need, right? And what I want too. Yeah. What I need and what I want. And that by living into that full intention, then if I really feel strong in myself, then I can really give to others with it being unconditional. Versus getting angry that I'm giving so much. Because that's where I was. I was like angry I was giving so much just to everybody else. Yeah. And I felt depleted. I felt terrible. Right. And It didn't feel inspirational.
Yeah, and if you're struggling with that, I guess I struggle with that too, feeling like sometimes giving too much. I know that people have a big problem with that. They feel like they're always giving, and never getting anything in return, and therefore feel like they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And it's extremely common. I think it's more common with moms, obviously, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess dads as well, probably a little less so. I think moms are a little more, all about making sure everybody else is taken care of instead of themselves, right? And keeping that face on.
Right.
But I think I struggle with slightly the opposite. Like, I think that, when the moment arrives, is because you'll say, like, you had a friend invite you out to do something one night, and you're like, well, I can either go out and enjoy the time with them, or I can stay home and actually know that I'm going to get a good night's sleep, know that I'm not going to be like a burden on my clients the next morning. And, because I know that I'm going to show up exhausted and not going to deliver as well as I could. So there has to be that conversation within that to see whether or not you're actually, if you filter, like you said, if you're filtering it through that thought process,
that intention, that's right. Then the answer is obvious. Yes. Yeah.
The answer is always obvious.
It's really clear.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you're, because you can apply that to your clients, right? Or you could say, okay, my goal this year is to build my business with my clients, right? Is to really increase my client experience and to, start making more money with my clients and attracting more clients. Well, if that's your goal, and then your intention is lined up with that goal, right? Because taking care of yourself first, taking care of those around you, which means that you'd be very upfront with your clients about certain things, right? Because you are taking care of yourself first. Well, then the decision to get invited out to do something like that is, again, like we said, obvious.
Yeah.
Or going, or being healthy. I mean, we can apply it to every single thing.
Yeah. And I think often, especially with this particular example, often we think that by taking care of, I'm going to say this. Sometimes we're wrong. When we think that we're taking care of somebody else and we're not taking care of ourselves first, we're actually wrong in that we're taking care of someone else. And I'll give you an example of somebody who's close to me who is very similar to me in this way. She signed up for a course that she didn't really want to take. She also had really, really bad back pain. She signed up for this course because they were offering it for free and they really wanted her to take it. So she said yes, because she felt bad to say no to a course that was being offered for free, right? And when it came to the course, she had to cancel last minute, the day of, because her back was in so much pain. She hadn't taken care of herself. She was exhausted. And so last minute, she had to cancel and on these people, and they were really upset with her, right? So it was like a fake thing of actually taking care of them in the beginning because she didn't take care of herself, she couldn't be present with them. She couldn't do the course, and she ended up hurting them because she let them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes in. Okay. So let's bring this to the health topic, right?
Yeah.
So people think that they are helping their family by going bananas, by literally running themselves ragged, right? Because their intention is not to take care of themselves first, to take care of everybody else first.
Yes.
Right. And therefore they run themselves ragged to the point where they have to drop the ball eventually on that family. And then they feel really bad about themselves because they're not able to achieve that thing that they need to achieve. They feel like they let everybody else down, and then everybody else ends up having to pick up the pieces around them. Yeah.
And I'm going to go to even further example of that.
Okay, go further.
Which is, if you're really sick, like with diabetes, right? And you're taking care of everyone else before yourself. And, let's say you let it go too far and you actually end up passing away early. Now you've just left your entire family without you. And that is not taking care of your family.
That's right.
Yeah,
it is. That could be a very, very easy scenario that happens to a lot of people.
I see it happening a lot, even with certain clients I have.
Right.
Just not taking care of their sickness.
Right. So So
that's
anyway,
short term.
that was short term. And then there's lifelong intentions. Now this one's, like I said, it's a little more broad. Some examples of this might be, my life intention is to build a community around me that I love and that I love, support, and support me. Some others might be in just, your lifelong intention is to inspire others to be better, to inspire, to surround yourself with people that inspire you. They can be really, really easy, very simple
intentions
to have empathy, to just like, that can be
that's a big one you're working on.
That's a big one that I work on. I have very, very minimal amount of empathy for myself, and therefore have a hard time being empathetic.
What causes what?
What do you mean?
Like you get disconnected from people.
That's right. Yeah, and I suffer because I focus, like you said, on goals. I focus more on the goals, and I don't focus on my intention behind it, and therefore I put myself in a position where your goal is more important than everything else. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Including friendships, our relationship.
And I have to,
your health.
And that's right. And one of the things that I have been really focusing on is my intention behind it, and my attention to you, and my attention, because you are the most important person in my life, and I want to you're welcome. And I want to make sure that, I'm nurturing this thing that we have. And so sometimes I have to remind myself, because I get so wrapped up in everything. Yeah.
So I want to kind of go into how to create intentions, like how to really create a good intention.
Yeah, this is like the crash course, and this is we're rounding off on the end here. Yeah, so the crash course on how to create intentions for yourself.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when we were looking this up, everybody was when we were looking up all the different ways that people create intentions, most of them were just positive, like find a quiet space, think of what you want, and go for it, basically. Right.
Or meditate on it. Right. And for me, that's not enough. For me, I have to really understand it. I really wanted to get to the bottom of how I want to create the intention that really connects with me the most, the deepest. So this is how what we came up with. So first, you do want to find a nice quiet spot. You so you'll take that one back. Take that back. You didn't mean that before when you said find a quiet spot.
You do. Okay. You do want to find.
But you're going to find that quiet spot because you're going to make a ruckus in that spot.
Exactly. Well, you want to be by yourself, right? Okay. You want to really be able to sit with yourself, which sometimes can be very uncomfortable for people. It certainly was for me. That's why I ended up going to a lot of therapy, because I couldn't be by myself. I had to be by myself with a therapist. It was like the only place I felt safe.
Right.
So find a quiet space. And then I want you to think about where you feel the most unempowered in your life, right? And it can be, we'll give many examples, but it could be around eating. It could be around your relationship, could be around time management or your health in general, right? But where are you feeling most unempowered? Yeah.
I mean, these are very general topics, but it could be, I feel unempowered around, I can't stop myself from eating bad foods.
Yeah. Or for me, it was, I felt unempowered in the ability to make decisions because I felt frantic in every decision I was making.
Okay.
Right? Because I just felt frantic. I felt frantic and anxious with every decision. So that was what I felt unempowered with. Now, how was I being in those moments, right? I was being unpresent to myself and my thoughts.
So the first step is figuring out what it is that's causing you to feel unempowered.
Right.
And then the second part is once I feel unempowered, how am I being in those moments?
Right.
What is my reaction to that feeling?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I was being thoughtless to myself. I was being unloving to myself, and putting everybody else in front of myself.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So I really couldn't connect to myself.
Gotcha. And there's other things that might come up for some people. It might be you might be feeling thoughtless. You might be disconnected.
Yeah,
you might not be present. So if you're feeling like, okay, so one of the things, let's say you feel unempowered in is your relationship, your love life. Right. So you might feel like, well, maybe your way
of being in those moments where you're disconnected in a relationship is exactly that. Disconnected. You're being disconnected with your partner.
Right.
You're being thoughtless to your partner.
You're not present.
Right. Not present to them. Uncurious. Right.
Right.
Unloving.
Cold.
Distant.
Right.
Self-absorbed.
Right.
Right? Like that's how you're showing up in that relationship. That's your way of being in that relationship.
Okay. So we established that we feel unempowered in this relationship. Let's just say in the relationship, right?
Yeah, with the spouse, let's just say.
Right. And so how am I being because of that feeling unempowered? Mm-hmm. I'm being thoughtless and I'm being an asshole.
Yeah, thoughtless, basically. Disconnected,
I'm not inviting a loving relationship into my life.
Right. This is how you're showing up into that relationship.
That's how I'm showing up. Okay.
Right. And then you look at the cost of how you're being, right? The cost of this way of being. So for me, the cost of the way I was being to myself was I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. I was getting sick a lot. I was getting a lot of migraines, and I hated my life. I was angry, and I was angry at everybody else that I was giving to, that was enjoying their life and having a good part of their life because I didn't feel satisfied, right? So I was angry. That was the cost.
Got it.
Right? And then I would let people down because I'd be doing too much.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You would just pack everything on the plate,
right? And
then eventually the plate would get overflown,
and usually the people
overloaded.
I'm letting down is myself and you.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and in the example of the relationship, like, what's this cost of being? You're going to feel alone. Mm-hmm. Your spouse is going to feel alone. They're going to feel angry. You're going to feel angry. You're not going to have connection. You're not going to have any sex life. Like, that's the cost of you being thoughtless, disconnected, not present, unloving, distant, and self-absorbed.
Gotcha.
Right?
Right. And everybody knows how that can manifest after years and years and years.
Yeah.
I guess.
That is where divorce comes in, right? Right. So then I don't want to skip over the part of emotion, right? So as you're letting people down, as you're letting your spouse down, as you're feeling alone, as I was feeling angry, as I was feeling sick, and those were the costs of it. How did it make me feel? Mm-hmm. I was angry. I was anxious. I was panicked. I was sad. I was frustrated. In the relationship scenario, you could feel hate to your spouse. Could feel complete disappointment, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you feel completely indifferent, right? And you're just going to live your life every day as if you're roommates, having no connection.
Got it. Yeah, right, exactly.
So really looking and understanding the way it makes you feel, I think, is important. And I think a lot of people skip over the feeling, but it's so important.
Okay.
Because what you can do from
usually the feeling is the indicator of that something needs to change. Like if you're walking around and you got a chip on your shoulder all the time, or you're really sad all the time, you're really depressed all the time, and maybe it's because you haven't. There's something in your life that you're not addressing.
Right.
You're ignoring that part of your life that's keeping you in this constant cycle of feeling the wrong way.
And you can use those feelings as a tool, right? As a tool, you have to start to be curious about those feelings, not just like get into those. Like for you, sometimes Rob used to, he's not so bad about this anymore, but you used to get into those really depressed feelings that they would last for 3 months.
Right.
Right. And but you weren't curious about the feeling. But now as you've grown and, we can sit down and have a conversation and be curious about that feeling. And in an hour and a half, we can really get to the bottom of it and find out the way that you've been being.
Right. Exactly.
And change that.
And that is a real struggle. And if you're listening and you go through depression and you struggle with feeling like you're any kind of self-worth or that you're failing or anything like that, it is really important to just not bury that shit, because you have to, and find somebody. I mean, look, I hope that you have a partner that's as open to talking about what's going on as Devon is with me, and me with Devon, and we are, so look, I'm not gonna lie and say that, every time if she walks in and I'm feeling down, I'm gonna be like, I want to tell you everything that's happening with me. Like I'll usually try to suppress it for a little while, but then I also know that that's what I'm doing, and that I'm not dealing with how I'm feeling, and I'm just ignoring it. So I'll struggle to come up with what I have to say. Sometimes it takes me a little while to figure it out, but that's normal, and that's my process. And so if you're struggling with maybe how you're feeling emotionally, if you're struggling with you might not even be able to put your finger on it, but you have to start thinking about it and talking about it and figuring it out. You got to be curious about that.
And maybe that's your intention for the year.
Yeah.
To be curious.
Yeah. Be curious about your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And be present with them.
Yeah.
And really explore and find out why you're having them.
So once you figure out the cost of the way of being and how it makes you feel, then it's time to this is the fun part. You get to set the new intention.
Yeah.
And it's actually really easy because you get to go up back to the place where you feel how you were being in your unempowered place, and you just flip it.
Right. Just turn it 180.
Just turn it 180. So for me, I was being self-punishing, right? Or uncaring of self. So now my new intention is I'm going to have integrity with caring for myself and my family. That's my new intention. And that's my intention for 2017. I'm going to have integrity with caring for myself and my well-being and my family's. And so everything that I'm going to do starting now from 2007 through 2017, and hopefully it just becomes a way of life, is that every decision that I have to make is going to be filtered through that intention.
Right.
And so as I come out of it, I know that I'm taking care of myself with every decision that I'm making.
I love it.
Now in relationships, right? The relationship example, you could, your intention could be love with all of your heart. I'm going to have integrity with loving my spouse no matter what. Right. Unconditionally, right? That vow that you probably made, I'm going to love you unconditionally, right? Like loving with that, or without an expectation back, right? To give, to be loving, to actually give it's a gift, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to love you, it's a gift from me to you. I don't have to have anything in return for that.
Right.
Right now.
And sometimes people do expect that, and that's the problem. Like there are people that offer love and they expect it back. Like they have to get it back. Like if you tell someone I love you, that shouldn't be like a boomerang.
Right.
That shouldn't have to come back immediately. It should be something that's only sent. And if it comes back, great. If not, that's okay. And it doesn't have to always come back in that moment. There can be those times where you just tell someone that you love them, or you tell someone that you're proud of them, or you tell somebody that you're thinking about them, or you tell somebody that you miss them. You could do all of those things and don't have to expect a response back.
And I would say that...
Or they can just respond back and just say thank you.
Exactly. And I can say that sometimes we think that being loving to others is about neglecting yourself, right? We kind of talked about this before, but you have to love yourself first, right? Because I guarantee if you don't love yourself first and you're giving to others, you're going to get angry, right? Like I did. That's where I was coming from, right? And so you're not coming from a place of strength. And if you need to be acknowledged or loved back by that person, that's a sign that you're not loving yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's not true love.
Yeah.
In that way. And I'm going to give that with a caveat. There's a difference between like loving and giving love and never receiving it back, right? Like bouncing your head against a wall against somebody.
Banging, nice try.
Thank you. Banging your head against a wall. So if you're in an unhealthy relationship and it's not a mutual partnership, it's not a loving partnership on both sides.
Yeah.
Like that's a different scenario.
Right.
But try it for a few weeks. Try unconditionally loving your partner for a few weeks and see how they respond.
Well, you can't just, here's the deal. Now, we have to have a small discussion about this. You can't just change gears and not tell that other person that you're changing gears. You have to tell and talk to that person and be open with that person and say, look, great. Here's the deal. The relationship's not working the way it's been working. And so we're going to have to revamp this a little bit. And here's my suggestion. I'm going to give you nothing but unconditional love for the next few weeks. And I'm going to do my best to be supportive and happy and just like, and just supportive and happy and I'm going to be that person for you. Right. I'm going to love you unconditionally.
And so that they know that that's what you're doing.
And so, yeah, exactly. So they're not just like, what the fuck? Did you just cheat on me? So there's, sorry. So that I think that is a really important thing that you have to make sure that you put that in there. Yeah. Right. Otherwise it's just not going to work. So yeah. And then give it a few weeks. And if that person is not willing to go on that ride with you, then maybe you have to continue with that conversation, or maybe you have to sever. I'm not saying sever your relationship,
or a good therapist, or go to the next level.
You have to try to work that out. Yeah. But maybe
don't keep banging your head against a wall.
Yeah, because that's not living your life with intention. And then the next thing you know, 50 years has gone by and you're in this unhappy relationship. And
right, because again, going back to the loving, you have to love yourself first.
Right.
So there's, there's that kind of dance between loving yourself and loving the other person.
Yeah.
So that's it. So then basically now you can go from there. So let's just kind of review that. So basically you have, the first step is think about who you are and where you're feeling unempowered in your life. Mm-hmm. From there, you get to look at how you're being in that unempowered place, right? How it is you're being, thoughtless, disconnected, not present,
right?
Uncaring of self, right? Then you have to look at the cost of the way of being this way, right? How it affects you, how it affects others
Maybe
around
it affects you physically. Maybe you're overweight. Maybe you're binge eating.
Right.
Maybe you're just ignoring your body. Maybe you're depressed. Yeah. What is it? What's it costing you?
Right. And then how does it make you feel? Right. Really connect to that emotion. Don't ignore it.
Right.
Then you get to set your new intention. Just go back up to your way of being in that unempowered place and flip it 180 degrees.
Right.
And then create a statement out, create a self-intention. I am going to be this.
Right.
You know? And then with that, that's when you can now go into your goal setting.
Right.
Once you've established a really clear intention, you can make your goals. And if you want some help with goal setting, if you go back to episode 102, there's a whole episode. Is that 102?
Yeah, it was 102. It's SMART goals.
SMART goals that
Yeah.
Rob created, I think, around this time last year, right?
Yeah. No, it was probably only like
In the
6
summer?
months ago.
Oh, probably summer.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, any goal that you make now has to be in line with your new intention,
Right.
right?
So here's the deal. So, just in terms of the health thing, right? And if we're talking about, say your goal is to lose weight, and obviously if you're going back to the SMART goals, you want to set a time limit on that, right? So if your goal is to lose weight within a certain amount of time, then every single decision that you make from start to finish of your goal should be filtered through that intention.
Right. And so your intention could be, I am going to love myself.
Right. So now when you're staring at that, at that grilled cheese sandwich or that bowl of French fries, is that you telling yourself that you love yourself, or is that you going towards this comfort thing?
Right.
Because
You've had a bad day at work. And now you're like, I need some French fries.
And you're soothing yourself.
Right. Is that loving to put French fries in your
Right,
body?
exactly.
Is French fries in your body loving?
Think of yourself as that child that's crying themselves to sleep, and you're the adult in the other room that says, this baby has to learn to take care of itself, to soothe itself without external comfort. Right. And that's what French fries are. They're an external comfort. There's something that is not going to solve the problem.
Right.
It's just this external comfort. So as you got older, right, you learned how to soothe yourself and realize that you don't have to panic. You don't have to be upset. You can actually be calm in these situations, and then you make it and you sleep through the night. Right. So so think about that think about what your intention is after you've set that goal, and how that intention filters every decision that you make, or every decision that you make is filtered through that intention.
Because if your goal is now a 3-month goal, and every day and every decision that you've gone through towards that goal has been about loving yourself,
think how good you'll feel.
Think how good you'll feel in 12 months later. If that every decision you made has been towards loving yourself, or that was your intention through it. Even if you don't even if you don't lose a pound.
And then maybe you do have the French fries. Maybe you do have the ice cream.
Yeah.
But you were still loving yourself through that process.
Right. And afterwards, you're not going to punish yourself, right? You're going to turn that intention and go, oh, okay, I made a mistake. I wasn't loving myself in that moment, but now I'm going to choose to love myself.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because if you are punishing yourself, that's not loving yourself.
Right. Right. So you have to come back to that intention. You're not going to you're not going to get the intention right every single time, but you have to keep coming back to it.
I think for those people, some people like say that they're overweight or they struggle with their weight and they struggle with health, and then they eat ice cream and then they don't feel guilty afterwards. And it's almost like, and it's like, but then you go back and forth from being like, people, I don't understand. Like, so I know, like one of my clients says he never feels guilt after eating bad food, but then he always gets upset with himself when he looks in the mirror, and it's almost like this sociopath kind of thing.
Well,
he's completely disconnected from
feeling it afterwards. Because he is feeling it. He's just feeling it when he looks in the mirror.
Right.
It's just like a delayed reaction.
It's like an emotional grenade where you like pull the pin and then you have to wait for it to
and
go
I'm not going to
off.
look at it. I'm going to just pretend I didn't eat this for a while, and then I'm going to look in the mirror and go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that ice cream.
Exactly. All right. So let's wrap this up. So I think we made our point with the importance of having intentions while setting goals, and how you're not going to succeed, at least healthfully. You're not going to succeed without having really good intentions.
Yeah. Or the goals aren't going to feel as good as if
right.
they did if you had a really great intention while you're working towards them.
That's right.
Going back to the intention being your process and the goal being the result.
Oh, you know what? Somebody, my buddy Will gave me this one. You either win or you learn.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? You either win or you learn. There is no lose.
I like that. It's also I like that a
really
lot.
Good.
Yeah. My therapist also says, if you're not growing, you're dying. So grow.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, so let's wrap this up. Just to recap, in the beginning, we talked about the Open Sky Fitness podcast group. If you want to be a part of the community, feel free to reach out. Just go to Facebook and look for the Open Sky Fitness podcast group there. And for anybody in the group right now, I am giving you the assignment of putting in what are some of the topics that you want to hear about. What are some of the things, these burning desires, things that you are struggling with that you want us to talk about or bring experts in and talk about on the show. That is it.
That's it.
What else you got?
I got nothing. I got a happy December.
Happy December.
Yeah, guys, thanks for listening to the show. Tune in next week. We have another awesome Open Sky Fitness podcast for you.
All right, thanks for listening to the Open Sky Fitness podcast. Please check us out on Instagram at Open Sky Fitness, where you can follow Rob, link to the podcast, learn about upcoming guests, and post questions for him. You can also ask us questions about your own health and fitness, and we'll try to answer them on the show. For our blog, show notes, and more information about training with Rob Dionne, go to openskyfitness.com. Our music is by H. Scott Salinas. You can check him out at hscottsalinas.com. So for Rob Dionne and the rest of the Open Sky Fitness team, this is Jeff Meacham saying that no matter where you are in your life, you can always be healthier. And we're here to help you get there. All right, I'm done.